If you are a woman past 60, I want you to picture something with me. A woman walks into a room. She moves easily. Her skin has a brightness to it. She bends to pick up a grandchild without thinking about it. Her eyes are clear. Her mind is quick. The strangers in the room guess she is 50. She is 82. I have watched this my whole life. The women in my mountain village do not look or move the way the world expects women in their 70s and 80s to look and move. They walk to the bakery without holding the railing. They garden in the spring without their knees complaining. They thread needles at 90. The researchers who came to study us measured their inflammation markers and found numbers nearly 50% lower than women the same age in the cities. Half. And the grandmothers only smiled because they had been watching it for centuries. I am going to tell you exactly how they do it. There are 5 small foods sitting on most kitchen counters at breakfast that, eaten the right way, can give a woman past 60 back the body and the mind she had at 50, sometimes at 45. One of them, 9 out of 10 women get wrong. They eat it every single morning and never feel the benefit because nobody told them the small change. There is a 6th thing, too, the missing piece underneath all 5. And once you understand it, you will understand why some women in your own town look 30 years younger than the calendar says, and others their same age have begun to fold inward. Stay with me. The order matters. Each one builds on the one before it. My name is Ayiko Tanaka. I'm 80 years old. I live in the mountain town of Ohara, just outside Kyoto, where my grandmother lived and her mother before her. For more than 60 years, I have cared for the women of our village through kampo, through the fermented foods our great-grandmothers kept in clay crocks beneath the floorboards, through the small kitchen remedies that are older than any hospital. My grandmother used to say the belly is the second heart. When the belly is alive, the whole body wakes up. The skin brightens. The mind sharpens. The sleep deepens. The years run backward. My mother lived to 96. Her mother to 101. The old women who sat with me on the porch shelling beans when I was a child, most of them lived past 90 with their minds clear and their hands still able to thread a needle. 5 generations of our women have eaten the same way, prepared the same things, kept the same crocks. And in all those generations, we have rarely seen the bent backs, the cloudy eyes, the trembling fingers that the world now calls normal aging. The women in my village do not believe in normal aging. They believe in feeding the body what it has always wanted and watching it return the favor. Here is the part the laboratories in Tokyo have only recently put a number to, and it is the foundation of everything I am about to tell you. The helpful bacteria in a healthy older woman's gut, the ones that produce the compounds that brighten the skin, sharpen the memory, calm the mood, and steady the immunity, those bacteria are what make a woman of 80 move like a woman of 50. The grandmothers in my village have rich, full gardens of these bacteria because they have been feeding them since they were children. And this is the quiet secret of why they do not age the way the rest of the world does. The food keeps the garden alive. The garden keeps the body young. Now let me show you the foods that do it. We are counting down from 5 to 1. Number 5. White rice eaten alone at breakfast. In my village, no grandmother ever ate her rice alone. She ate it with pickled plum, with miso, with seaweed, with something fermented sitting beside it. And here is why that small habit gives a woman back 10 years. When you eat plain rice on its own, the starches break apart very quickly into glucose, and the pancreas, which has been working for 60 or 70 years, must race to catch up. Imagine a small wood stove that can only burn so many logs at once. Throw in too many at once and the stove smokes. The smoke is what we call inflammation, and inflammation is what dulls the eyes and stiffens the joints and clouds the skin. But pair the rice with something fermented sitting beside it and everything changes. Researchers at a university in Sendai followed 800 adults for 9 years. The rate at which sugar entered the blood after a meal dropped by nearly 40% when fermented foods were eaten alongside the rice. 40%. The old monks would have nodded. They had been doing this since before paper was invented. The fix, my dear, never eat your rice alone. A small spoonful of pickled plum, a square of nori, a bit of miso soup beside it. The rice becomes a friend instead of a thief, and the body that was 30 seconds older after every breakfast is now 10 years younger after a year of mornings. But this is only the beginning. The next food is in almost every American kitchen, and almost no one has been told what is wrong with it. Number 4. Soy sauce in the bottle from the grocery shelf. What sits in most bottles today is not what my grandmother kept in her crock. The traditional soy sauce was brewed slowly, sometimes for 2 or 3 years, in wooden barrels with living cultures. The soy sauce on the modern shelf is made in a few months with chemicals, often with caramel coloring, and far too much salt without the minerals that came with the slow brewing. The kidneys of a woman past 70 are like an old well pump that still draws beautiful water but cannot push as hard as it once did. Pour the cheap soy sauce through that pump every day, and the ankles swell, the blood pressure climbs, and the mornings get heavier. But replace it with a slow brewed shoyu, and the body begins to lighten. Mrs. Eleanor, a retired school teacher, 72 years old from Bozeman, Montana, came to me through her granddaughter who had visited Japan. Her ankles were swollen every evening. Her mornings felt like she was walking through deep water. We replaced her bottle, added a cup of dashi broth most days. The swelling came down. The mornings got lighter. But here is what surprised her, and this is the part I want you to hear. The shoyu was a foundation stone. It opened the door. The full transformation, the moment Eleanor's daughter looked at her at the family reunion and asked what she had been doing because she looked 15 years younger, that did not come from the shoyu alone. It came when we added one more thing, the missing piece I will share with you in a few minutes. The shoyu was the soil. Something else was the seed. And without the seed, the soil is just dirt. Speak to your doctor before changing any medication, my daughter. Number 3, miso heated to boiling. So many women I speak with tell me they make miso soup, and I am so glad they do. But then they tell me they boil it. My dear, when miso boils, the small living things inside it die. Miso is alive. It is full of what the laboratories now call probiotics, the same family of helpers that line the inside of a healthy belly and produce the compounds that keep a woman bright and quick into her 9th decade. My grandmother said, the belly is a garden and the miso is the rain that feeds it. Boil the rain and there is nothing left to feed the soil. But here is what I need you to understand, and this is the most important thing I will say to you today. The garden has 3 parts, and almost no one is told this. There is the seed, the probiotic, the living bacteria itself. There is the soil, the prebiotic, the fiber that feeds the bacteria so it can grow. And there is the fruit, the postbiotic, the actual healing compound the bacteria produces inside you, which is the thing that brightens the skin, sharpens the memory, lightens the mood, steadies the immunity, lifts the years off the face. Seed alone with no soil and nothing grows. Soil alone with no seed and nothing sprouts. And without the fruit, the harvest, you do not feel the difference in your body. All 3 must be present. This is why a woman in my village who has been eating fermented foods since childhood looks 50 at 80. Her garden has been growing all 3 for 70 years. And here is the question I've been asked 1,000 times by women in their 60s and 70s and 80s. Ayiko, can I still grow that garden if I am starting now? My answer is yes. I have watched it. But you cannot grow it on miso alone because the miso gives you only the seed, and even then only a small handful. To grow the kind of garden the grandmothers in my village have, you need all 3 in the right proportions every day in a way that fits a body that did not get the head start. This is what I spent 6 years searching for, and it is the missing piece I want to give you now. About 6 years ago, women began writing to me from America, from Australia, from England, telling me they were doing everything I taught. The miso, the matcha, the pickled plum, the soft tofu. Many of them felt a real difference. Their digestion settled. Their mornings got lighter. But a stubborn group, perhaps 3 out of every 10, did not feel the full transformation. The food was right. The rhythm was right. What was missing was the seed, the soil feeder, and the fruit all together, the way my grandmother's crock would have given them, the way a lifetime in our village would have given them. So I began to look. I traveled. I read the laboratory papers from Tokyo, from Shizuoka, from California. I tested every probiotic supplement my granddaughter could find me on the shelves of the pharmacy. Most of them were hollow, a handful of bacteria, no soil, no fruit. Many were dead by the time they reached the bottle. After 3 years of this, I had nearly given up. And then I found a small thing called buchbod. It is the only one I have ever found that gives the belly all 3 at once: the seed, the soil, and the fruit, the prebiotics, the probiotics, and the postbiotics in the proportions my grandmother would have recognized. It carries 2 clinically studied helpers. lactospore and postbiotics, LM1004, and it includes slippery elm, the same root the old village mothers in our hills used to soothe a tired belly. Over 30,000 people are already using it. It is a soft, gummy, berry-flavored, not a pill, which matters when the throat does not swallow as easily as it once did, and when the stomach has become sensitive to capsules that sit there like stones. When I started recommending it to the women whose progress had stalled, including Mrs. Eleanor, the full transformation began. Eleanor's morning energy returned. Her digestion settled. Her skin brightened in a way her granddaughter noticed at the family reunion. She wrote to me, "Ayiko, my body finally feels like it is on my side again. I look in the mirror and I see a woman I thought I had lost 20 years ago." This is not a sponsorship, my daughter. I do not take payments from companies. I am 80 years old and I have nothing to sell you that I do not believe in. This is the conclusion of 3 years of looking and 6 years of watching it work in the bodies of real women. The makers offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, which means you can try it for 2 full months. And if your body does not respond, if your mornings do not lighten, if your skin does not brighten, you send it back and pay nothing. That is a promise no honest food can make, and very few honest companies will offer. The link is in the description below. Speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, especially if you take medication. Now let us return to the foods because the foundation matters and the master food is still ahead. Number 2, tofu fried in old oil. Tofu is a beautiful food, a gift from the temples to the kitchens of every Japanese home. But the way it is most often prepared today, deep fried in oils that have been heated and reheated, turns a gentle food into a small fire in the body. Old oils carry oxidized fats, which behave inside the older body like rust on the iron of a garden gate. Slowly the cells stiffen. The skin loses its softness. The brain, which is mostly made of fat, begins to struggle. But eat your tofu the way the old women of our village ate it, soft in soup or lightly grilled with a brushing of fresh sesame oil at the end, and the body responds within weeks. The skin softens, the sleep deepens. A woman who thought her face had finished changing for the worse looks in the mirror and finds her face has started changing back. A wooden plate, a sprinkle of green onion, a few drops of fresh ginger juice. That is enough. And now, my dear, the master food. Number 1, green tea, but not the kind in the grocery bag. The master food after 60 is matcha, the powdered green tea grown in shade, the same tea the old monks of Uji have prepared for 900 years. When you steep ordinary green tea in a bag, you take in perhaps 10% of the leaf's medicine. With matcha, the leaf itself is whisked into the water and you drink the whole thing. Inside that bright green powder are compounds called catechins, especially one called EGCG, which behaves in the older body like a quiet cleaning crew, gathering up the damaged cells and clearing the inflammation that ages every organ. There is also an amino acid called L-theanine, which calms the nervous system the way a soft hand on the shoulder does, and helps the older brain hold its focus without the jitter of coffee. Researchers in Shizuoka spent 14 years studying 40,000 adults. Daily matcha drinkers showed a 31% lower rate of cognitive decline after 70. 31%. My great-grandmother would have said, of course. Mr. Harold, 81 years old, a retired carpenter from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, came to me through his daughter. He had begun to forget where he placed his tools, the names of his old friends. We changed his morning cup to a small bowl of whisked matcha, prepared the old way. Within weeks, he felt brighter. But here is what his daughter wrote to me 4 months later after we added one more thing to his routine. Ayiko, my father is not just remembering things again. He is the man I grew up with. He is telling stories at dinner. He is making jokes my mother used to laugh at. The matcha was the medicine, but his body could only absorb it once we gave the gut what it needed first. The gummy each morning alongside the tea was the door that let the matcha in. By the 4th month, Harold remembered his late wife's birthday for the first time in 3 years. Speak to your doctor if you take blood thinners, my dear. The fix. 1 small bowl of matcha each morning, half a teaspoon of the powder, water that has cooled for 1 minute, whisked until it foams. Drink it slowly with both hands around the bowl. And by the way, if you have made it this far with me, please tap the subscribe button below so the next teaching reaches you. That is the only ask I will make of you today. My daughter, listen to me for a moment. What we have spoken of is not 5 foods that slow aging. It is 5 foods that run aging backward a little more each morning, the way the women in my village have done for 5 generations. The food prepares the soil, but the seed has to be planted or the soil sits empty. The grandmothers in my village had their seed planted in childhood. You and I are starting later, and that is all right. The foundation plus the seed will give you the same garden they have, only on a faster timeline. It is never too late. The body knows how to repair itself, even at 70, even at 75, even at 80. I have watched it. I am living it. My hands at 80 still thread a needle. My mornings still feel like mornings. And the women I have walked with through this, women who thought they had said goodbye to their 50-year-old selves, are looking in the mirror and finding her there again. Try it. The link is in the description below. The 60-day guarantee is real. If your body does not respond, if your mornings do not lighten, if your mirror does not surprise you, you send it back and pay nothing. But if you are anything like the women who have written to me over the last 3 years, you will feel the first lift within the first 3 weeks. Until next time, my dear, may your tea be warm and your morning light be kind to you.